Great, and I'm live. Um, I've just been doing some tapes about the Sue Gray report, and right after that, I just thought to myself how difficult it is to change your behavior when you've been doing something all of your life, or you've been following a certain pattern all of your life. So it is that if, for example, you have become acculturated to listening to everything that your TV tells you, if you've become acculturated to putting on a pedestal people who we're told should be hailed as the great philanthropists of our time, if we're used to just following orders or following the crowd because it's uncomfortable to stick out, it's very difficult to change that behavior. And in this regard, it seems to me that right now, humanity is at a massive crossroads. We have all kinds of issues with our freedoms, our liberties, and it's beginning to cause economics to bite us all very hard. Fuel's expensive, there are shortages of bread in certain countries, the war in Ukraine is causing shortages of real essentials like fertilizer, grain, fuel, energy, gas for important countries in Central Europe. And so it's difficult for us to halt this process. And people think that, well, what can I do about this? It is what it is. And I have to just mosey along looking after number one. Well, here's the thing, it would be useful for us to note that those who run our world affairs have played a blinding game. I remember in the good old days, well, if you're a Manchester United fan, in the good old days when there was a player there called Eric Cantona, he had the singular knack of, by one pass, totally bisecting the opposition defence and enabling their then strikers, people like Andrew Cole, Dwight York, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and others, to score huge numbers of goals, all because of one cross-field pass that bisected the defence. And what has happened now is not dissimilar. We have been perfectly divided as a human race so that we can be picked off one by one, really at the on the whim and the fancy of those who want to control us. The first thing is that they've driven a massive wedge between the people of Europe and the people of other parts of the world. Let me speak of Africa because I am of African origin. I am indeed African. Now, once you've gotten used to watching a certain run of events go through, it's very difficult to suddenly decide that, whoops, we're not going to have this process of literal exploitation of an entire continent. We're not going to sit by and watch this continue to happen. If you want to speak up about it, you may feel as if you're being hypocritical, because why didn't you speak up about it before? Why are you speaking up about it now? You'll think that people will think that you're a phony. You'll think that the people on your side will consider you a traitor. All kinds of things coming. All of this amounts to fear. Fear because you've never done this thing, never taken this action before. Now, here's the thing, everybody's afraid. You're not alone. The people in Europe facing whether it's monkeypox or whatever the new big challenge is that's going to cause us all to possibly be locked down, possibly be mandated with further medications and so on. The people of Europe suffer from fear of loss. People of Europe suffer from this terrible kind of business of whether or not it's disloyal or unpatriotic not to go along with the herd on all of these things. But then don't think that they're alone. People in Africa also have their problems. If it's fear of loss, in Europe, fear of loss of their standard of living and so on, and so they're prepared to give up all their freedom so that their standard of living will be maintained. If you go to Africa, it's fear of lack, because the ordinary person on that continent lacks so many things. That's for those at the bottom end of the totem pole. Those in the middle and upper echelons of African societies are afraid that they won't be able to maintain their standard of living, and that if they speak up or rock the boat in any way, shape, or form, their ability to maintain their SUV, their child in an elite institution of education, and their general standard of living may be in jeopardy. And so because of that, they might decide that it might be better to shut up. Again, it's fear. Fear is the most paralyzing emotion that a human being can experience. Once a person is afraid, they are already in handcuffs. Not just handcuffs, their feet are also shackled. Once a person is in fear, they have already been enslaved in their minds. What happens to the rest of their bodies will follow as a matter of course. But I just wanted to make a couple of suggestions that you don't have to be a special person to play your part in defending humanity. And I've come up with 14 ways in which, of course, there must be 1,000 ways, but 14 came off the top of my head just now. There must be 1,000 ways in which people can help human beings retain their freedom and their liberty. If you have privilege, you can use your privilege to protect humanity. 1, 2. If you have status and people listen to you, you can use your status to protect humanity. 3. If you're erudite or educated, you can use your ability to decipher trends, events, and facts so that other people will understand and be motivated to pick up their resources and help human beings retain their liberty. 4. If you're a great writer, don't write too much though, because people get bored, especially seeing as most of us read our stuff off our handhelds. If you have to scroll more than twice on a handheld page, the person's going to stop reading, just saying. If you're a good writer, write stuff that'll inspire people. Write stuff that'll give people insights into where we are at the moment. If you're a great speech maker, if you're a good raconteur, if you're a good communicator, use your voice. Do that, because we don't all have the same skills. Where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was speech. 6. I call this one heavenly bodies. Do you know, I see so many of these absolutely stunningly gorgeous people on the social media with their heavenly bodies perfectly adorned with great style and so on. Why can't you use your style to promote the liberty and the freedom of humanity instead of just check me out, check my swag, aren't I gorgeous? Put some kind of connection of that with something that'll help this cause of helping human beings to stay free. 8. Food. I see a lot of people who post amazing meals that make your eyes, your mouth water, meals that make your eyes water. The number of times I've seen food on Facebook and Instagram and so on, it makes you feel like licking the screen on your telephone. But there are so many ways you can use that for the cause. Why don't you name the dishes? Why don't you do caption competitions or something of that nature? You're a great cook. It's a great way of leveraging the food. People love to look at food all the time. So much better than just looking at the food and walking away hungry. The next is age. If you are of a certain age, the thing that goes with age is usually experience and insight. Um, Being older doesn't make you necessarily wiser, but you have had the opportunity to see many things come and many things go. You have the opportunity to be able to join the dots that much better, purely and simply because you've seen the cycles. So do that. Not everybody's had that advantage. That is your skill. That is your privilege. Use your age. What about gender? Look, there are lots of things that men can say that women can't, and there are lots of things, perhaps even more, that women can say that men couldn't possibly say. Use your gender. The métier that your gender provides you with is such a powerful force in driving forward anything that promotes the liberty and the freedom of humanity. Of course, there's money. Right, let's get to the vulgarities. If you've got money, it gives you a little bit more largesse, gives you a little bit more freedom. You can go where you want, you can find the locations that you want, you can do all kinds of things, but use your money to defend humanity. Next, nerdiness. The there are certain things that most of us don't have the bandwidth for. That is deep dives into data. Those amongst us who are born with a knack, the will, the ability to be incredibly nerdy are desperately needed at this time because they're the ones who can do the kind of deep insertion into rabbit holes to decipher the facts, analyze them, and provide them in bite-sized chunks to those of us who perhaps don't have the bandwidth to do that kind of research. Then, of course, there's the artists. I love the artists. The beauty of art is that you speak another language, which is non-verbal. Photographers the same. Use your photography to help to defend humanity. I don't have to tell you that. Most of you artists and photographers and so on are 10 times more creative than the rest of us. You're the ones, you can think up great ideas for using your art and your visual output to defend humanity. Then, of course, there's music. Right? It's good to groove to music, but music means so much more when there's a message attached to the music. I know that in my youth, in the days of hippies and the counter-revolution and so on, the lyrics of those songs were hugely important. Later on, in the early days of rap, the lyrics in those songs were hugely important. Use it. Long story short, what I'm saying is that, that's just a list of, I think it's about 14 things that I've listed over here. Everybody has got something that they can bring to the fray. And it worries me that it's maybe 5 or 10% only that speak up. Everyone can speak up. The last thing I should say is that the elites, the cabal, those who are running this show that we are bit players in at the moment, are watching very carefully what you say and what you don't say. I believe that the reason the last lockdown was lifted in Britain as early as it was because of those street marches, because people got up and people spoke up. And if you think that by keeping your mouth shut, your head down, and your eyes closed, things are going to get better, well, I'm sorry. I've got another thought coming for you. That is actually the direct route to ensuring that all of our liberties disappear. Once I thought that we were a free people on this planet. But the more we go, the more it appears that this planet is actually a prison planet. And that is something we can all completely undo just by using what we've got to do what we do. Thanks for listening.